My sister is a teacher, and one day I made the mistake of trying to make fun of the questions she asked on one of the tests. When she calmly explained to me that the alternatives I provided were nothing more than trivia questions with little or no importance in relation to the matter, I reverted to my insignificance and did not do the same thing again. Blooby Block reminds me of that event, as it spends its time trying to trick us with trivia not related to our problem. Since you are here, why don't you leave a like, a comment, or even better, subscribe to the channel for more indie content just like this one. It's a massive help. Thanks a lot. Blooby Block is a puzzle game made by just one person and, as in Avendock, what was relegated to the background was the graphical component, with the game taking place in a simplistic and poorly worked grid, with unappealing colors. The characters themselves are simplistic and poorly worked. This disinvestment can also be partially explained by the fact that the game also has an Android version, but considering the graphic quality of the most recent mobile games, this is not a justification. The music, and I'm intentionally speaking in the singular, it's cute, until we realize that it's in a constant 30 seconds loop. That means that after 10 minutes we can't hear it anymore. What I did was turn it off and turn on Spotify each time I played. The sound effects aren't far behind either, but it's handy to hear the sound input of the little character jumping around, because over time I started to internalize the speed of the movement, and that helped me to stop at the right time, and believe me that we will often make a mistake in where to stop. In this game our village was attacked and we have to help Blooby, our character, to save his friends from the Bloobies, who are our enemies. We do this by solving puzzles on a 15 by 15 grid squares, pushing blocks that prevent us from progressing, or to help us overcome obstacles, or to block Bloobies on patrol, or to block traps or lasers. There are hundreds of levels and the difficulty scales noticeably in chunks separated by the programmer in different areas. Each time we complete all the levels of one area, we move on to another that is notoriously more complex. But even within each of the areas there is a progression in difficulty, albeit much smoother, which does not invalidate that it does not become notorious over time. This is good design as it softens the way we learn, especially considering the sheer amount of pranks the dev likes to play, and I didn't particularly like those. Why do I say that we are constantly deceived for free? Well, for different reasons really. It can be because the exit of each puzzle is only revealed at the end of finding the key, and many times this is blocked by the last block that we pushed without knowing where the exit would be beforehand. That block doesn't interfere with anything else in the puzzle, it's just placed in a way that gives us this irritation. This happens so often, so much so that we get used to it. Other times we have to go through the entire puzzle only for the exit to be back at the beginning, then we have to go back again. This mechanic can represent a challenge, but in these cases the puzzles once solved no longer need anything other than patience to go back. This just plays with our patience in inducing an error out of irritation. Some of the enemies patrol on a fixed route, but some of those will change without prior notice if we push a box. Worse than that, some have to mandatory change that pattern, but their movement is dependent on two boxes, and the dev hope we don't move one of them. Well, I often did, and it took me a long time to realize what I shouldn't have done. Certain areas of the map are not visible depending on the configuration of the levels, but some have blocks essential to the progression and we have to go looking for them blindly. I'm not used to these design choices anymore, and quite honestly, I do not like them. Sure, we start to realize that they are perfectly standardized in this game, and over time, we realized how the dev thinks, and we start to think that something wrong won't be right at each level, but I still didn't like it and would avoid most of these decisions. Considering that I didn't make a ghetto of complaints, but an entire city of those, you might get the idea that I didn't like the game. But that's a wrong idea. Looking beyond all these annoyances and that big aesthetic problema, Blooby Block is an intelligent puzzle game which tries to surprise us at every step with new mechanics, new enemies, new obstacles, or even the use of spells to allow our progress. The movement and the levels are fast and fluid, so much so that we are often mistaken in the place where we stop, and the error associated with this failure is common. We know what we want to do, but we make mistakes by pressing a button 1 millisecond more than we should. Considering that there is no scoring system, having a button that would allow us to eliminate the last move would be a wonderful addition to our quality of life and would allow us to avoid multiple repetitions of levels. The absence of a proper scoring system extends to another important point. The creator gives us the option of picking up 3 emeralds per level, but doesn't give us any use for them. Well, many of the levels can be completed in 3 or 4 moves if we don't want to pick up any of the emeralds. I didn't bother to test it, but I admit that I'm a bit curious about trying to clear all the levels without picking up emeralds and see what happens. Obviously, Blooby Block has a lot of room to improve, but that perception can also come from me not being a big fan of this Sobokan puzzle style, and maybe all of this is normal in these games. Sticking to the puzzles themselves, surely there's enough challenge here for any fan of the genre, and if they manage to abstract from the rest, it's quite possible that they will enjoy the game a lot. However, it wasn't able to draw me to the genre. See you next time, guys. Bye!